Hi, my name is Matthew Carnegie, and as always, I say, keep the faith. Today, we're going to talk about despair. Despair is the ultimate con that life throws at you. Despair is all about the idea that somehow life can be so limited that there's no longer a point in living it. And I got something to tell you. Life is, by its very nature, infinite. I know some of you might first think that that can't be possible because all things that live die. When I say infinite, I mean infinite in possibility, in expression. There are so many things outside of our perspective, our purview, our experience, that is so far out of that perspective, purview, and experience that we're not even aware of what it is. That's how far out it is. And yet those things can be eventually across, quote unquote time, experienced. I would imagine that everyone, unless you're very young, has had the experience in which they encounter something in life that they never imagined would be there or would be possible just a few moments earlier. And that yet, once that's encountered, it opens up life for them. It opens up a whole new set of possibilities, a whole new set of possible experiences that they can have that they weren't able to imagine even existing beforehand. That fundamentally is the nature of life. Now let's talk a little bit about despair. Despair originates from a perception that life is limited. We are limited beings, being human beings. I'm a human being. I'm guessing if you're watching this, you're a human being, or there might be non-human beings watching this. It's a big world these days, and it only seems to be getting bigger. That's not very relevant, but point is that no matter who we are limited. And what that means is, we have our body, let's say, my hands, head, all of that. And then I have the moment of time that I was born into, the location on Earth, which I'm not going to disclose. And we also have all the experiences that surround the time that we're living in here. I had a certain set of parents. Some people had a certain, set of parents or lack of parents. I grew up around specific people. I had certain events that came into my life. To me, I experience these things personally, and they seem vast and big because of my limited nature and my limited ability to take in all this experience. And when we're relying specifically on that sort of limited perception, that limited sense data, then we can't see life as it is, which is this infinite possibility. So that's where despair comes in. Despair is the phenomenon of believing only in the limited perception that you have in the current moment. This is something that I've personally fell prey to many times. There's no shame in it. It's very, very common, very easy to get into. And in a lot of ways, it can be very attractive, very tempting to bring despair into your life. Because when you're despairing, it allows you to disengage with life without the usual guilt or shame that would arise if you were to disengage with life. Because we engage with life with an understanding that it's going to respond to our engagement and that things are going to happen, bad things, of course, but on the whole, good things. That we have a reason to live, that we have hope for the future, that we have an understanding of how our lives will progress. And yet when despair comes in, we tend to think the opposite. We think This is no longer a world of possibilities. This is no longer a world where good things can happen, because the way that I keep seeing things is that it's bad and it's going to be bad in the future, and that future is going to stay, forever, essentially. But it's a complete con. It's a total show. I'm not entirely sure who puts it on. There are many names for that force. My personal favorite name is, of course, the adversary. We'll get to that later. Some people call it the ego. Some people call it Satan. I'm familiar mostly with the Christian tradition. I think the Jewish tradition, Hasatan, and the Eastern traditions, I'm not entirely sure of. Apologies for my lack of education. But essentially, there is a force that tries to compel us to give in to that despair, because it will allow us to be entirely within our own limited purview. And that, of course, allows us to shirk our responsibilities. And so what I am urging you to do, if you have listened this far, I urge you to not fall for the con of despair. It's a complete con. It's not true. It's not real. It looks very convincing, but again, that's only because of our limited purview. When you start to despair, I just ask that you remember how much life there is out there beyond you, how many experiences that you've never had, that you're unaware of, how deep and vast the world is, and to remember, most importantly, that an antidote to despair can be lurking just right around the corner. For some people, that's cold comfort or no comfort at all. It's not necessarily meant to be comforting. It's meant to be a statement of fact. That is what I've learned to be the case, is that the con of despair is that there isn't that its antidote or hope or a good time that could possibly be just around the corner. It can feel that way. It can seem that way. And you can have repeated failure after failure after failure. But just in the same way, if you were to flip a coin, despite the fact that you flip a coin and it would land heads, 100 times in a row, that doesn't necessarily mean that the 101st time will be heads. And that's the truth of it. And that's the fact of it. It might not be a very comforting fact, like I said, because we would like to think that it seems a little unfair sometimes to consider that despair isn't correct when we have so much evidence to the contrary. But it really is the fact that since the world is so vast and infinite, the antidote towards despair is always right around the corner. Possibly, of course. You can turn 100 corners and not find it, but you can never say that you won't find it. And that's the truth that you should always keep close to you and reconcile with. And that's what I'm doing. So I wish you all the best. As always, keep the faith.